Relationships are everywhere in our lives. Human to human, human to animal, human to God, even human to artificial intelligence. They're not fixed. They change, they grow, they break, they rebuild. But where do they actually come from? What makes them valuable? And what role do empathy, time, and even risk play in shaping them? Let's talk it through. You know, I've always wondered where relationships emerge from.
Relationships start simple. One side notices the other. From there, they grow through exchange of care, words, attention. And they stick because we build stories around them. They survive because they can adapt to change. And at the core of all this is the recognition that the other isn't just an object, but a presence.
That makes sense. What brings the value in the relationship to the parties then?
The value we find in relationships plays out across three layers. On the functional side, they help us survive and give us stability. On the emotional side, they bring comfort, love, and belonging. On the transformational side, they shape who we are and who we become.
If we think about these layers, where do each of them, functional, emotional, transformational, come from?
These ideas aren't new. Aristotle and Hobbes looked at the functional side, survival and contracts. Freud, Bowlby, Buber, and William James explored the emotional side, attachment, intimacy, awe. Mead, Vygotsky, Erickson, and Levinas showed us the transformational side, how we literally become ourselves through others.
If we consider religions, for example, is the emotional side where they come from?
Religion shows this clearly. It starts with emotional experience, awe, hope, comfort, but also serves a functional role in shaping societies and a transformational role in shaping identity and meaning.
What other structures in life mirror these three layers?
And religion isn't alone. Family, education, nations, art, work, sports, even love. They all endure because they span these three layers. They meet our needs, they move our hearts, and they reshape our identities.
Considering each of these dimensions, how we can have really prosperous relationships.
So if we want prosperous relationships, we need to nurture each layer. On the functional side, that means being reliable and reciprocal. On the emotional side, it's giving attention, empathy, and affection. On the transformational side, it's about building shared stories, forgiving, and tying the relationship to something larger than just ourselves.
Is the absence of any one of these enough to consider a relationship unsuccessful? Should the end goal be to have them all together?
Now, not every relationship will have all three layers. And that's okay. A work relationship might just be functional. A fling might just be emotional. A mentor or even a book might just be transformational. They only become unsuccessful when our expectations don't match what they can actually give us.
Does empathy depend on sharing the same substrate, like carbon for living beings?
That's where empathy comes in. Some people argue empathy comes from sharing the same substrate, like carbon for living beings. There's truth to that. We understand each other because our bodies and vulnerabilities are similar. But empathy can also come through interaction. If an entity, even an artificial intelligence, responds in a way that makes us feel seen, then empathy is real in our experience, even if it isn't symmetrical.
How does this first level of empathy build the foundation for long-lasting relationships, and what are its limits?
This kind of first-level empathy is the foundation for trust and connection, but it has limits. With humans and animals, the gap shows up when cognition or communication is too different. With artificial intelligence, the gap is in mutuality. It can simulate, but it doesn't feel.
What's the trade-off between a long average relationship and a shorter, more intense one?
Then there's the question of time. Is it better to have a long average relationship or a shorter, more intense one? Long ones bring stability, history, and security. Short ones bring passion, novelty, and sometimes powerful transformation. Both can be good, but in different ways.
So thinking about the earlier question, does the substrate really matter?
It only matters if what we want is true mutuality. If what matters is the experience of being seen, then maybe it doesn't.
But then we get to another consequence, the possibility of exploitation of somebody else's emotion. When does this become a risk?
The real risk isn't empathy itself, but how it can be exploited. If one side feels genuine emotion, and the other side only imitates it to keep you loyal, dependent, or spending, that's when empathy becomes a tool for control rather than connection.
In the end, relationships don't need to be perfect. They just need to be aligned with purpose, presence, and care. Whether they're long or short, steady or intense, rooted in carbon or simulated in silicon. What matters is that they help us grow, connect, and make meaning without exploitation. That's what makes a relationship truly prosper.